Alrighty guys, in this video today we're going to be going over my arena tips. Currently in arena right now I am a little over 8,000 points. Could have had more this season, but I didn't really play it all that much this season because I was very busy with work and school. Now that I have a little bit more time, I'm able to sort of dedicate to that. So I've racked up a little over 8k points, might be a little bit more now that I'm actually able to devote it to the time. But here are going to be some tips for you that's going to help you live longer, win more fights, and just overall do better in arena. Alright. So number one is going to be play with what division you're in. So if you're in Open League, you should be absolutely keying every player that you can because there's no bus fare. Work on fighting, work on box fight strategy, try and piece control the opponents, and then play for that. All right. If the bus fare isn't ticking you for points, there's really no reason to try and play it out smart because you're not going to be losing points. If you're not losing points, then you can really only be gaining them. So try and rack up high kill games. It'll help you out for arenas later on when you get into that contender and that champs. All right. If you are in champs, or even contender, you might want to play a little bit more methodical approach, a little more systematic into trying to make it to end game because the bus fare does tick you, so you can go back in points on this one. All right. So trying to play like that, realizing that you can lose points and that being smart is almost like half the battle as to how good of a fragger you are. All right. So second tip is going to be the landing spot. And this is crucial, okay? Make this landing spot the same every time, all right? I don't care if it's the first bus path off the rip, or I don't care if you have to fly all the way across the map to get it, okay? Keep a smart head, all right? The one landing spot you know completely, maybe another person doesn't, okay? If you think you just don't want to fly all the way across the map to get to your landing spot and you want a chance at like a high kill game or something like that, is it really worth it to go to a spot that you really don't know as well and maybe someone else gets a chest spawn that you didn't even know was there and then you're out 60 points? Absolutely not, all right? Stick to that landing spot every single time. For me, that's Shark. I know everything about Shark at this point, okay? Everything inside and out. All right. One thing, all right, fishing for late game is absolutely huge. That is another reason why I go Shark completely, okay? There's usually a lot of harpoon guns there, fishing holes, and usually it's open for the most part, all right? Not a lot of people have been going there recently in the games that I've been seeing, okay? So you want to have floppers. If you can get any spicy fish, slurp fish, any of those kind of things are really good. And hold one stack of one kind of fish in your inventory, all right? Late game for rotates, eating storm damage, all that kind of stuff, that's huge with floppers, all right, because it takes only like a second or two, something like that, to get like 40-50 HP, okay, which is going to help a ton when storm is eating at you late game and you're in a bad spot and have to rotate late. All right, slurp fish could be even better. All right. Nice. The next tip is going to be how to rotate in arenas. All right. One thing that I have noticed that you probably want to rotate in arenas. Now, granted, it's going to be a little situational based depending on your situation, but one thing that I have noticed in arena is that you want to rotate sort of toward center circle, all right? Because everybody is rotating towards the edge because everyone wants to stay alive, focus on late game, all right? As soon as you go into zone, if you are right on zone edge, you're going to get all the other late rotators rushing on you, and then it might even be a more than one team fight, all right? And the chances of you winning that are so slim. If you stay in middle of zone, a lot of people steer clear of middle of zone, all right? At least in the first 5 or so minutes of the game, right? Maybe even like 5 to 10 minutes of the game, they clear out of middle zone, all right? And they kind of flock towards the edges. So do yourself a favor, stay in middle of the zone, and it's going to help you out for potentially the next zone, so you won't have to move as far, you won't have to be as open. All right, next tip is going to be learning to box fight effectively, okay? I have a bunch of maps, and I even have a few videos that are kind of dedicated to this, sort of like piece control maps. I used to be a player with an extremely high sensitivity on controller because I wanted to try and emulate the mouse and keyboard players, all right? Now, something that I'm realizing with this is that you should not just try and be someone that you're not, all right? So I knew, and I came to a realization that I was a controller player and I had to take advantage of the things that controller players need to take advantage of. So I learned to box fight effectively, all right? How to peek, how to pre-fire, how to do right hand peeks, how to do different things, editing quickly, all that kind of stuff, all right? If you're smarter than your opponent, 9 times out of 10, you're going to win and beat your opponent, okay? So Learning to box fight effectively, staying in your box, not trying to gain height far too often if it's not worth it. I see a lot of people trying to crank to the moon and then they just get hit by a scar that's like 50 meters away, and then the other guy rushes up and beams them. So stay as closed as much as you can and learn to box fight. Next tip, not giving up materials nearly as easy. Okay. If you don't have to build, do not build. Okay, because you're going to run into situations where you're going to have to tarp, tunnel, use all of your mats in a given situation. If you're not around in an area where you can sort of hit trees and get it back, then you're going to be at a loss. All right, so be constantly farming, constantly getting mats, and don't be expending them unless you have to. Okay, and if you are in a fight, use a build strategy that's going to conserve mats for you at the time. Okay, so don't just go all out, try and phase sway, get pieces everywhere, and be like a creative warrior. You're going to run out of builds so quick, and your opponent's just going to be sitting in their box waiting for you to drain your mats and come down to him. All right, the last and final tip is learning how to tarp. I actually did this recently, and I made a video on tunneling, which tunneling and tarping are pretty much the same thing. They just kind of, piggyback on words a little bit. I made a full video on this, so I will link it up there at the top right-hand corner of the screen, so you can go and check that out. Learned this recently, and it is huge late game. Okay, absolutely crucial late game for not getting beamed. All right, and if you want to do any kind of like tournament gameplay, which I usually can't because I have to work, like I work a full-time job, and I would love to do the tournaments, but I haven't been able to really do them yet. So this is going to make it so you don't get beamed late game and get yourself into a position where you got zone at your back and you can't even move forward because someone's beaming you. Okay, learning how to tarp, absolutely huge. You need to do it. Can be done easy on controller or PC. Okay, and some of the tips that I have in that video are going to work for PC as well because they're more mechanical, and some of them are going to be more controller. All right, so that pretty much sums it up. That is the video for you today. Hopefully you gained something or like a thing or two. That helped me to get a lot more arena points than I did last season, and hopefully we can continue to grow in arena points, YouTube subscribers, and all the above. If you like that, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. It helps me out so much, more than you know. We're closing in on 100 here, and I want to see if I can hit that 100 subscriber mark by the end of June. Okay, thank you guys so much. Have a good day.